four horsemen of the apocalypse represent the end times and are known as Conquest, War, Famine, and Death. Yeah, I don't know why I was just talking like that. So I grabbed another video I had, took the topic of Genshin Impact, popped the fusion dance, and now we're here with the four horsemen of Hoyoverse. Hopefully this concept will make sense soon enough, and if it doesn't, then it is what it is. This will also be a little bit of a loaded video, so I'm gonna go through the luxury of breaking it up into chapters for convenience sake. What a good guy I am, right? This concept as a whole originates in the final book of the Bible, Revelation. The Greek word for revelation is apocalypse, which is directly spelled as apocalypse in English. They're known in order as Conquest, War, Famine, and Death. They represent the four most grave warning signs of end times, and while it's certainly a stretch to say that the company of Hoyoverse represents the end times, there are four ways in which Mihoyo's made such massive negative waves that I'll be attributing them to the four horsemen of the apocalypse. The first rider comes in the form of Conquest. Wearing a crown and carrying a bow, the horseman rides in on a white horse. Conquest comes for a single reason: to conquer, obviously. These horsemen aren't really subtle about their purpose. Conquering is usually defined as taking control of a place or people by use of force, but here's what separates Conquest the horsemen from any irregular conqueror. They're stated to come with a crown, symbolizing rule and victory, as well as a bow, which implies battle, or at least force. But here's the kicker: despite being mentioned to have a bow, there's never any mention of having arrows. This is Conquest with a weapon lacking lethality. Now it's important to note the color of the horse, because white horses are representative of righteousness, purity, and heroism. This is the exact same way that Hoyoverse presented Genshin Impact on release. Cute, colorful, vibrant, and player friendly. And while it's more so the community's fault, not the game's fault, this is certainly not what the game is. Taking the gacha scene by storm and becoming a hit sensation that swept the nation, Genshin entered the scene and made an impact. Y'all see what I did there? No? Okay, I'll stop. And while it isn't even close to being the founding father of gacha gaming, Hoyoverse strategically released Genshin Impact at the perfect time for it to quickly become a household name. Any gacha game of current times can't exist without being compared to Genshin Impact in one way or another. Everything somehow seems to start and end with Genshin, and this is the beginning of the gacha apocalypse. And so the second rider sallies in on a fiery red stallion. Following the initial Conquest comes War. Similarly to Conquest, War comes to cause war. You're gonna make me do this for all four, ain't you? Now here's where War gets misconstrued. War did not come to create problems. No, instead the problems are a result of what War truly comes to do, which is to take peace. Peace is considered to be a gift from a higher power, and the purpose of War was to go and take that gift back. So of course, once the peace has been stripped away, what are we left with? Dissension, fighting, war. Love it or hate it, Honkai Star Rail is obviously not a game that released specifically for the purpose of causing problems. The problems in Civil War created by HSR are more of a cause and effect. By Hoyoverse conquering and dominating the gacha scene so suddenly, peace was stripped away. When War came to Earth, their arrival was very intentional. Somewhat similarly, the fighting between the Mihoyo factions couldn't be an accident, because Mihoyoverse had opportunities to satisfy both parties and end the war, yet chose other approaches, such as silencing those who stood in opposition. Rather than reform the peace that they stole, Honkai Star Rail was trapped in an endless cycle of
I exist so you hate me,
I hate you because you hate me,
and now I hate you because you hate me back.
War existed in gacha far outside of simply the Hoyo space, but even just looking on the inside, games like Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail simply coexisting is enough for factions to form and wage war against one another. And through waging war, factions will take up arms to defend what they stand for. In doing so, players from both sides actively antagonized the other and created an environment on both ends that was of poor quality. Simply out of spite to the other, players overplayed their games and they threw themselves into a content drought, or in other words, Famine. Famine appears riding a black horse and carrying a scale in hand. I'm sure many people understand what a black horse normally symbolizes, but for those who don't, the black horse normally represents financial oppression, hardships, illness, mourning, etc. Now note that differently than the first two horsemen who came with a very clear purpose, Famine doesn't come with a purpose, but rather a command. Raise the prices on basic commodities, but do not touch the luxuries. Only the barest minimum for the poor, and extravagance for the rich. This could be attributed to a concept called whaling, or for more casual people, paying to win. See, Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, and even Impact 3rd have all been accused of being P2W, or in some of these cases, pay to lose. Free currency is available in all of the above, but to prosper at an elite level, the bare minimum of resources and currency typically don't cut it. Genshin Impact power creeps old units and forces players to constantly spend time and or money to keep up. HSR drops way too many characters that are hard to skip, and some units don't even perform very well without either duplicates or their signature weapon. Impact 3rd has even been accused of slowly but surely becoming free-to-play unfriendly with some of their content. Point being that through overplaying games, players dug themselves into a content drought, and in that drought, only the rich can still prosper. The whales, oilers, and even content creators. Famine represents struggle and an inequality between the living classes. Hoyoverse games are not shy about showing favoritism towards their shills, and nothing towards the opposite, player inequality. Now, unlike the other 3 horsemen who are technically nameless, the 4th horseman actually comes with a name, that being Thanatos, or Death. They come riding a pale green, sick-looking horse representative of plague, as well as corpses. Death is often depicted carrying a scythe, but this actually isn't accurate. You see, the one who carries the scythe is the Grim Reaper, who's the personification of death, not the horseman Death. You see, the horseman Death actually comes empty-handed, but comes with Hades in tow. And I'm not talking about Hades from Greek mythology, no, Hades as in the afterlife or hell. Death's purpose is a simple one: bring death, but only to 1/4 of the population. Now, what do Hoyoverse and this very specific fraction of 1/4 have to do in common? No, seriously, think about it. You can pause if you need to, I'll give you a second. Alright, have you thought about it? Because I haven't. There's absolutely no correlation between 1/4 and Hoyoverse, but there is between 1/4 and this video. You see, out of the 4 games behind the inspiration of this video, one of them took a massive blow compared to the others. Death brings death in 4 forms: war, famine, pestilence, and beasts. With a game representative of each of these methods, it's possible to do a deep dive into the death across Hoyoverse games. From death of characters, to death of the actual game, to IRL threats of violence and death, to the actual deaths of real life people as a result of these games. However, if you know this channel at all, you know I don't like speaking on heavy topics unless it's one I can joke about, and death isn't something I personally find funny. So feel free to look into that one yourself, and RIP to those known and unknown who have gone down playing these games. Now enter awkward and unfitting tone shift. Sub up, we're shooting for 10,000 subs, and if you've seen my videos before, you're bound to see them again. But 2024 has been a lot of support on the channel. I love and appreciate y'all boys and girls. I surprisingly have a lot of female viewers, and hey. W is. All VTubers know that my DMs are open. I've never seen someone try this topic before, so I hope that this made sense. It's a format I want to take a crack at again in the future someday. But I'ma catch y'all boys and girls in the next one, alright? We out this piece.